Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. And at the outset, I'd like to thank the Institute to invite me to deliver this lecture. And when my good friend Gautam Banerjee called me, then I thought what I should present. Then these days people are talking about IoT, people are talking about artificial intelligence. Now we are in a new world due to the pandemics. I thought let me create a presentation covering all these things, and I will not go to the theory too much, mathematics too much, algorithms too much. My goal is to just introduce the area so that students community and faculty community, researchers, they get interest and get an idea that so many new problems can be solved. So that's why I selected the topic. The video IoT principles and applications in city surveillance and pandemic management. Am I audible properly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off my camera so that you can focus on the screen. All right. So, as I said, my goal is to give a overall idea about IoT. First, what I'll do, what is IoT all about? Because this is a recent buzzword, In this world, every decade there's a buzzword. Now everybody talking about IoT. Everybody talking about IoT, whether they understand or not, but they talk about IoT. So I'm going to break the myth of IoT to give you the proper understanding what IoT all about. Then video IoT is the new domain of what is all about and where from video IoT is coming. Then I'll show certain examples, normal IoT, how it is different from video IoT, or rather video IoT, how it is different from other IoT. Then where is the role of artificial intelligence and why artificial intelligence paved the way for the many developments. So I'll show a few examples. After that end of the lecture, I'll be available for 10-15 minutes for any question and answer. So let's start on the internet evolution. Okay, while I'm talking, if everybody else mute, that will be better because I hear the honking sound, vehicle sound in the background. Okay, so in early 80s, when we were students, graduate students, right? So internet was not like what it is today. That time, people used to share the documents, okay? So in the banking industry and etc., people used to share the document by interconnecting methods, by the networking. So that used to be called the Internet of Documents. Then we have evolved Internet of Commerce came. Then in the various, insurance, banking, medicine, data exchange started to happen. So that we call mainly Internet of Commerce. Then we evolved, then various applications, could be run to the internet, like sharing the desktop, remotely executing a program. That kind of thing started, and that was the Internet of Applications. Mainly from the last decade, the Internet of People, where people are connecting. Like I am connecting with you, right? You are using the social media. So, all the social media applications, those are mainly the Internet of People. That means connecting, intercommunication amongst the people. Still that is going on. Then it will evolve, and that evolution will be the Internet of Things. That means rather than you and I, or people are communicating with each other, like in the Facebook or other social media, WhatsApp, people are connecting with people, right? You do the video call, you send a message, you show the text, etc., etc. So essentially, people are operating these things. So that is the Internet of People, interconnection of people, intercommunication of people. In future, and the next decade, that will be things will be connecting other things, right? So not only people, things will be connecting. Your car will be connecting with your refrigerator or your with another medical device. Okay, automatically. So these are the Internet of Things. So there are a lot of misconception about the Internet of Things, but what actually Internet of Things (IoT) is. So I'm going to spend few minutes to set the ground. So if I start wondering what's happening worldwide at this moment, now it is in Calcutta, 11:10, right? At this particular moment, 11:10 in Calcutta, what is happening in the world? This is happening in the world. In 60 seconds, so many things are happening in parallel. Almost 700,000 search queries happen in 60 seconds. 168 million emails are sent in 60 seconds. 600 plus new videos are being uploaded into the YouTube or other media, right? 13,000 plus music streaming is happening, right? Voice calls to the Skype or other things, almost 10 million happening. So all these things are happening in just 60 seconds. So you can understand how much communication is going on and how much data is being generated globally. So that's why these days people started about talking big data. And I know in the next lecture, Professor Bimal Roy will be talking about big data, but I want to give an idea, set the background, where from all this data is coming. Essentially, all these things are happening in 60 seconds. Now think about how much huge volume of data is being produced. So today, if you look at today, approximately 20 quintillion bytes of data are being generated. 20 quintillion bytes per day, okay, generated. 20 quintillion byte means after 20 you put 18 zeros. Not giga, not peta, beyond 18 zeros. That much bytes of data is being generated every day today. And there is indication it is going to grow. Okay. So there is the play of IoT. When IoT will be successful in full-fledged manner, much, much more data will be generated. So that's why we computer scientists, electrical engineers, data scientists, we have to look at the world in a different manner. We have to, lot of research needs to be done to handle this kind of data effectively and in secured manner. And most of these data types are textual content, text data, could be structured or unstructured data. Multimedia content, like images, video, audio, could be structured data. Video is mainly unstructured data. How to extract meaningful information out of those data. That is critical research. Okay, that people need to pay attention. We scientists, technologists, professors, students, we need to pay attention to that. Various enterprise and social media platforms are coming into the world, right? And there is no indication that it will stop. Many more social media platforms will come. Many more various enterprise platforms will come. And with that, there will be explosion of data, growth of data. So we need to communicate this data. That means we need to look at the communication in new way of doing research has to be done. Huge volume of data that needs to be stored. Storage of huge volume of data, that is a challenge. And think about it. When you are communicating this amount of data, okay, and these data are being generated with billions of sensors deployed in the field, right? So one wonders, so what are those data sources? How much communication bandwidth? How much storage? Is the today's computing speed is good enough? No. What is the impact in power? You know, I see when I go to Calcutta or India, everybody busy, their fingers are busy. Always fingers are busy, particularly young generation. They're always in the cell phone, clicking on the buttons, right? We have to understand every time you click a button, you make a click, immediately few bytes are floating around in the interconnecting world. For example, you send a message, "Kire, kemon achiস? How are you?" Immediately, that generates several bytes of data. That means generates several bits, and each and every bit from your device connecting to the wireless media. So that means from your cell phone, it is being converted to certain electromagnetic signal that is hitting to the nearest substation. From there, it is going to a server, communication server. They call, communication gateway. Through that communication gateway, it goes to the data center. From the data center, again it is being transmitted to the person whom you are sending the message. So in between, you can assume each and every bit is processed and travels. It consumes electricity. You may not understand, but huge amount of power is being wasted. Okay. So if I give you a statistics, it is mind-boggling. The internet world, just because of the internet, and we are all click happy, trigger happy, because of that, more than 30% of the world's total power consumption is due to internet only. In your lecture room, in your college, in your home, everywhere, AC is running, electrical, the appliances are running, but total world, power consumption, almost 1/3 is consumed by this internet era only. So what is the impact? Impact in the nature, impact in the society. We have to always think about it. So that's why we VLSI designers who are doing the research in VLSI, microelectronics, we are struggling every day how to come up with low power VLSI design so that power consumption is low. Then what is the future? Are we moving in the right direction? How much it has been generated? I can give you an example. It is also mind-boggling. Every time a baby is born, almost 100 million data is generated. You know why? The baby is born, you take a snap of the picture, look, how cute is the baby. You send to somebody else, that person sends to somebody, another person, you are creating a video, sending it everywhere. So on the average, every time a baby is born, 100 million bytes of data flowing through this internet world. Think about storage of that, computation power of that, and impact into the power, and by what is the impact into the nature. We have to think about it, so that we have to continue our research for the betterment of world, betterment of the future, a betterment of our life, so that we do not use this nature. So that is the message I wanted to give with this little data. So there are various sensors. These days, watches we wear, those are sensors. Credit card, that is a sensor. Micro gauge. Even your refrigerator system, CCTV camera, these are all sensors. So sensor devices are everywhere. If you look at a modern vehicle, modern vehicle. So modern vehicle, there are so many different kind of sensors into the single car. So today's vehicle, it has more than 200 sensors running in parallel into the same car. So now how many vehicles are there in the world? Think about this way. So those many sensors are operating in parallel. So you can understand from those many sensors, this volume of data is being generated, and those volume of data needs to be communicated. So there is the role of IoT. And IoT thought is possible because of the evolution of the networks. When we were student, or when cell phone did not come, we used to do the point-to-point connection, landline, right? So connecting anytime. One person is connecting another person anytime. Now, because of the cell phone came, you are roaming around with the cell phone, right? So not only connecting anytime, you are connecting any place also. You can carry your phone, right? In future, the ITU, International Telecommunication Union, they are adapting, defining various methodologies and standards. In future, things will be connected. It's not only people, anything will be connecting. So it is a three-dimensional. Anything will be connecting, any place, any time. Security is the issue, data communication is the issue, and protocol. What should be the right kind of protocol? That needs to be defined. So that's why it is called ubiquitous network. Ubiquitous. Okay? So because of this evolution of the networks, internet, became so important. IoT became so important. Now the question is, what is IoT? Actually, today we are hearing about IoT. Internet of Things, that concept was given by Kevin Aston. Okay, he was an engineer, supply chain, manager in Procter and Gamble. So he defined the radio frequency, RFID, right? So that was assumed the first concept of the IoT. Okay, so he is a simple engineer. He gave the name Internet of Things. That means interconnection of the things. And essentially, before that, first IoT device, that was invented unknowingly, long time ago, 1982. In 1982, Carnegie Mellon University, Coke became very popular. This Coca-Cola company, they wanted to hook up the kids into the Coke so that everybody drinks Coke. So in the colleges, campuses, they put the Coke machine, right? In the Coke machine filled up with the Coca-Cola cans, Coca-Cola bottles, and the moment, the machine becomes empty, it used to automatically send a message to the inventory that machine is empty. Okay, so immediately they used to fill up. That means there is a machine, it contains the bottles of Cokes, and it can measure the weight and the volume automatically. When it goes below certain threshold, it sends a message to the back office, immediately fill up the machine, Coke machine. Because if the machine is not filled up, then people will not be able to buy. So that was the first example, first instance of the IoT. Okay. So 1982, it started from Carnegie Mellon University. So essentially, what is IoT then? Things. Internet of Things. So what are the things? Things are nothing but inextricable mixture of hardware, software, data, service, collectively called object. Essentially, anything which are connected into the network world, exchanging the data through the connectivity, that is considered to be the Internet of Things. So Internet of Things, the formal definition of the Internet of Things is physical objects, devices, vehicles, buildings, animal, people, and other items, including your parts, which is embedded with electronics, some sort of software, some sort of sensor, which can collect data, exchange the data through the network connectivity. That is the formal definition of Internet of Things. So Kevin Aston, he was a simple engineer like me. So he gave the name Internet of Things. But we scientists, we technologists, we have the tendency to give the fancy names, right? So, and the commercial world, they started to commercialize it. So that's why Cisco, they wanted to give a different name. They called it Internet of Everything. So if you look at my previous definition, you know, Internet of Things mean physical objects, devices, vehicles, building, animal, people, anything which is embedded with the electronics. So essentially anything under the sun, right? So that's why Cisco gave the name Internet of Everything. Then Intel, for their own commercial interest, they have to give a different name. They give the name I for everything. That means everything is being watched and tracked. So I for everything. We scientists, academicians, we came up with this artificial intelligence, machine learning techniques. So we gave the name machine to machine, M to M. Bruce Nair, he gave the name world size wave. And Terminator movie, okay, they first came up with the concept of Skynet. Essentially, all of the same concept is the same. And what is the concept? The concept is any object. An object can be a hardware, object can be software, object can be service, object can be any electronic device which collect data, generate data, process the data, and exchange the data with something else. That is Internet of Things, various avatars. Different people call different names, different companies give different names, but concept is essentially concept is the same. So what is the ultimate goal of IoT? At the very beginning, I mentioned that, Internet of people, so far 220 and that decade, people were communicating with another person. One person communicating with another person anywhere in the world. So it is moving towards the 2020 and next decade, it is going to be not only persons, things will be communicating, objects will be communicating, devices will be communicating with each other. Right? So not only people are connected, things are connected, and they will communicate with each other. For example, when you are approaching your home with your car will send a signal to your coffee making machine. Oh, he is reaching in the home in 5 minutes, right? Your coffee will be ready. And you know at particular what temperature you want your coffee to be, at that particular temperature coffee is set. So essentially, automatically, your vehicle is communicating with your coffee maker machine in the home. That is going to be the future. And prototypes, everything is successful today. So, M2M world, these are the all possibilities of Internet of Things. Connected devices. It's a huge affair. It's a multi-trillion-dollar business opportunity and development opportunity. Lots of opportunities for research in various domains. Electrical engineers, computer scientists, software engineers, including statisticians, mathematicians, and it is so funny to hear, including the anthropologists, psychologists, they are also involved in this development process. So it is a big affair. Now, let me take a little step back. So what are the factors driving this IoT? First of all, it was possible because of the computing economics. When we were graduate student in our department in Calcutta University, we had to do student movement. Or student organization, we had to do movement. That we computer science department, there was no computer, unfortunately. We had to do the movement to have a computer. Okay. So that computer, one computer, that is much, much, much less powerful than what you think today. That computer is to have only 16 kilobyte of data, memory, right? Then slowly, miniaturization started, Pentium processor came, then today people are talking about GPU, multi-core computing and etc. Earlier, it was LSI, then VLSI came, then Ultra VLSI came, millions of transistors are being embedded into a single silicon, substrate, right? Chip. So as per the Moore's law, Dr. Gordon Moore is the founder of Intel Corporation. So as per his law, computing power, uh, slowly miniaturization is happening. It is consuming less power. Price is coming down. As a result, it opened up the opportunity for the IoT and also today's cloud computing. So miniaturization is the key. Okay. So today, in a single microchip, you can essentially, uh, implement millions and millions of transistors. Then ubiquitous connectivity, which I already mentioned. Connectivity is low cost today, very high speed. Pervasive network connectivity makes almost everything connected through the internet protocol, right? So this widespread adoption of the internet protocol is another driving force IoT. Then data is being generated. So what do we do with this data? So to do the data, you have to analyze the data. So to analyze the data, the data mining concept came, artificial intelligence-based techniques are being applied into the data science, then computer vision and machine learning algorithms advanced a lot. We are correlating the data, we are aggregating the data, vast quantities of data we are using for extraction of the knowledge, extraction of the information. That information is being exchanged. And because of the cloud computing today, billions of such devices, they can connect to the cloud and distribute. So these are the factors driving IoT today. So, how big is the IoT? If you look at the timeline, year 2010, world population was 6.8 billion. And number of IoT devices were approximately the same. 2015, world population became 7.2 billion. That means in 5 years, from 6.8 to 7.2 billion population. And IoT device growth, you can see from 12.5 billion to 25 billion. 2020, today, the world population is approximately 7.6 billion. And you can see how much IoT has grown. More than 50 billion today, right? So 50 billion smart objects. Each and every one of you who are listening to the lecture, all of you are carrying some sort of IoT. Your cell phone is an IoT. Okay, your watch, your electronic watch, that is an IoT. You're carrying your laptop, that is an IoT device. So essentially, 50 billion smart objects. And do you know what is the growth? The growth is 5x faster than electricity and telephony. We think that telephony is growing. 3G, 2G, then from 3G came, then 4G came, people are talking about 5G. IoT growth is going to be the 5x faster than the growth of the electricity and telephony. So it's a huge affair, so we have to pay attention. We scientists, professors, students, everybody need to pay attention, how to manage it, what kind of computing devices, what kind of microelectronic chip we should be developing, what kind of algorithms we should be developing, what kind of communication protocol efficiently we should implement, what are the underlying software. So it is a new era, new way of looking into the things. So, I just gave you the basic premise of the Internet of Things, what is all about, what is the growth, and etc. etc. Then one wonders, is this IoT going to be a threat or it is going to be opportunity? If misunderstood, misconfigured, and goes in the hands of the half-educated people, it can pose severe risk to our data, our privacy, our safety, and our life. So today's world, where the cyber security threats are happening, hackers are sitting over there. There are thug countries. There are lots of thug people who are trying to damage many things. If the control goes in their hand, it can be a serious threat. Let me give you an example. It did not come in India yet, but United States, many, several thousands autonomous vehicles are flying on the street. That means autonomous vehicle means no human being, not a person is driving the vehicle. You just tell the destination, it will automatically find the path and take you to the destination. And who is controlling this? Entire signal is being controlled through the cloud. So that all those 200 plus sensors which I talked about into the vehicle, those sensors are communicating with the cloud, and from the cloud instruction is coming left, right, slow, speed, etc., etc. Now think about it. If the IoT, if the data of the control goes in the hand of a hacker, thug, and messed up, then several thousands, this autonomous vehicle, all of a sudden somebody did some damage. All the vehicles are running in randomly at 100 miles per hour speed. What will happen? Total chaos. It can be worse than an atom bomb. So that's why I always preach throughout the world, wherever I give the lecture, that if it is misunderstood, if it is misconfigured, and if it is not properly secured, it can pose a risk to human civilization. On the other hand, if it is understood, truly secured, all the corner cases has been touched, IoT can enhance the communications, lifestyle, and delivery of the services. Can save many people's life. IoT can be a game changer into the health industry. All of a sudden people are getting heart attack on the road. IoT devices can help, etc., etc. So like that, many other examples. So bottom line, point I'm trying to make, we technology scientists, we are creating the technology. For how the technology will be used, and policy decision is very, very important. That's why if misunderstood and misconfigured, it can be a threat. If it is properly understood, properly utilized, proper policy takes place, then it can be fantastic for the society and the human civilization. That is my message. Now let's come to, I get the brief about IoT. Then what is video IoT? And how it is different from traditional IoT. So far, whatever I talked, that was the traditional IoT. Then I'll show you some examples how artificial intelligence is influencing video IoT. So traditional IoT means these kind of devices are communicating to the cloud. Your glucometer is communicating. Your wrist, health band is communicating. Your credit card is communicating. Your refrigerator machine is communicating. So essentially, data is being generated there itself. In the device itself, data is being generated. Information is being generated. But in case of video, what is the data? Video content needs to be analyzed to generate the information, right? Because those devices, traditional, the devices are itself generating the data and generating the information. For example, the glucometer, it is telling maybe blood sugar is 105. So 105 is a number that is being generated, sensor has generated the data, and that 105 in a digital form that is being transmitted. But in case of video, what is the information? It is a visual thing. It is the subjective. It is the visual information. So that visual information needs to be converted into the digital information. That means extraction of the knowledge from the visual data is important, analysis of the video is important, and creating the information. And what is the information? There is an intrusion. Huge volume of video, there is an intrusion. That is the information. Oh, I'm doing the face recognition from the video. Okay, this person is Tinku Acharya or Gautam Banerjee or Ajijil Haq, right? So that information, video itself doesn't know, but processing that video, generating that information. So video analytics is the key. Usually I give several hours lecture on video analytics, but today we don't have that scope. I'll give the video analytics tutorial in 30 seconds. So this is Michelangelo's David, So fantastic sculpture. And what Michelangelo said, every block of stone has a statue inside. And it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. Right? There's a stone. So, common people like me, they cannot see what is inside the stone. But an artist, they can visualize, inside the stone, if I carve the stone this way, it can create certain sculpture, right? So that's why this is a famous statement of Michelangelo. I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. That is video analytics all about. That means huge volume of video data. Every day, when you walk down the street, you'll see there are so many CCTV cameras and etc. What they're doing, they're just capturing video. Somebody is watching, somebody may watch, somebody may not watch. But analyzing the video, what is happening, extraction of the information, that is the job of video analytics. And after the extraction of the information, then device takes some action, that is video IoT. Example, intrusion detection. In Sweden, in one of the billionaires' backyard on the bank of the river. So if somebody crosses that fence, an alert needs to be generated. So there are two people, happen to be one of them is me. There are two people, they cross the fence, those are the intruders, and the intruders' path is being tracked. Which path they went, how they walk, what is their walking pattern and etc. These are the information. Once that information is generated, it can go to the police station or to the monitoring center, because this is a high net worth individual's house and no intrusion should happen, because happen to be that is in the bank of the ocean. A lot of times, pirates come over there to do the damage. So that's why as soon as they appear and cross the fence, alert goes so that proper action can be taken. So action is being taken by the machine. Video analytics is generating the information, sending to the machine, and that is the IoT device. For example, in Calcutta, in one of the building, high security building, this is operational, and you just watch what is happening. Then I'll tell you. So you can see somebody left a bag over there. Okay, so that bag can be something. There could be some bad thing might happen. So somebody left a bag and just disappeared. So it can generate an alert. When you go to the airport, how many times you hear, if you see any bag or anything unattended, please inform the security guards, nearest security personnel. I did not see anybody informing anybody, right? So that's why it is important, for the safety of our life. If unattended bag is there, technology automatically needs to detect that. So this is unattended object detection. Here is the airport scenario. Just watch what happens. Was the man on the right hand of the screen, a bag, he's left the bag and wandering around and etc. etc. How do you know there is nothing bad into that bag? Now nobody is attending the bag. That means it's an unattended bag. And it is running in each and every airport in India. our technology which we have developed, that is deployed. So I can assure you, if you go to the airports in India, Calcutta Airport, Chennai Airport, 86 plus airports, through the CCTV camera, through video IoT technology, everything is being monitored. Okay, so if the bag is unattended, message will go automatically. Machine is doing that. These are very simple stuff. Reality check. India, I'm a very proud Indian. India is a fantastic country. It's a wonderful nation. Our country is great. Our infrastructure is very challenging. Our politicians are wonderful people. Okay, corruption is great. Wonderful country. Okay, poverty is great. Mismanagement is great. In that nation, how we can scientists and technologists serve the nation and build the technologies for the betterment of people's life. Okay, so if we just bring the foreign technologies and dump into the India, not going to work. It is not going to help India. We have to build indigenous technology. Here is the reason. This is a railway station, 6:30 a.m. I personally took the picture in Holland. 6:30 a.m. the platform is empty. Even 5 minutes before the train arrives, the platform is empty. As soon as the train arrives, people get down the train, they leave the platform. If somebody leaves an object over there, some miscreants, it does not require a rocket scientist to develop the technology. A high school kid, intelligent high school kid, work with me for a couple of weeks, can build the technology. So the technologies are deployed all over the places. Now, if I bring the technology which works in this kind of railway station and bring in Howrah station, do you think it is going to work? It is not going to work. This is 6:30 a.m. Howrah station. So the same technology which is being deployed throughout the world, developed by the foreign technologies, and comes over here and deployed in Howrah station is not going to work. So how to protect our station, how to protect our airports, how to protect our cities? It is our Indian patriotic scientists, it is our job to build the technology to solve our problems. Similarly, traffic is a huge issue. Traffic is a big problem in India. So look at, this is near my home in Arizona. How orderly fashion the traffic is, the roads, etc., etc. It is not that difficult to build the technology and automatically monitor the traffic. This is Moulali Junction, Kolkata. So do you think technology which will work in the left-hand side, for the automatic monitoring of the traffic, and if we deploy over here, it is going to work effectively? It is not. So that's why to solve our problem, we have to develop our own technologies. So this is the reality check. There is the play of the artificial intelligence. Particularly in India, such a complicated infrastructure, it is as I said, India is a unique country because we have 6 seasons. We have summer, winter, rainy season, etc. Various demographic conditions, various, the environmental conditions, huge population, multicultural, multilingual. So it's a multidimensional problem is there. There, artificial intelligence deployment will be very, very useful to solve many, many problems, and we have done this. And we'll show a few examples. For example, if you look into this particular screen, there are so many different kinds of objects. There are vehicles, there are persons, there are animals, there are, all kinds of things, right? In real time, analyzing those objects, classifying those objects is a challenge. Just normal image processing technique will not work. Just normal video processing technique will not work. We have taken the advantage of computer vision and artificial intelligence techniques called deep learning to classify, to identify the objects and classification of the objects. You can see some of the vehicles are not fully visible. Some of the vehicles only back portion or front portion is visible. Still it is recognizing this is a vehicle. That means almost like human intelligence, human eye. looking into the human eye, we can say left hand side only partial, partially visible, with this vehicle, you can say it is vehicle. This is an animal, this is a person. So classification of the objects. There is the role of artificial intelligence and deep learning technology. Deep learning is basically a convolutional neural network technology. So it has a lot of promise in India. For example, traffic problem. You can see, this gentleman driving a motorbike without wearing a helmet. It automatically detected that. It's a challenge in India. And technology is agnostic. Technology agnostic to the, what I should say, caste, creed, religion, etc. Right? In certain areas of the country, police is afraid to catch violators, but technology is not afraid of anybody, right? So there is the role of technology. So look at here, this gentleman is driving a motorcycle, not wearing a helmet, and this is a license plate number. They are being correlated. So when you look at it, it looks very simple, but inside, what are the the processes involved? First, it has to recognize the person is driving a motorcycle. So motorcycle is classified. On top of that, there is a human being that is classified. The head of the person is being identified, and in that head there is no helmet that is identified. So there is an association of all kind of objects. After doing the association, a decision is being made. Here is a motorbike driver who is not wearing a helmet. On the other hand, look at the person standing standing walking. Since he is not driving the motorcycle, he doesn't have helmet, so that is not being detected. Only this person is being detected. Right hand side, if you see the driver, he is wearing the helmet, but the rider, the companion, not wearing a helmet. So this is a violation. Look at this. The driver is wearing the helmet, but the lady sitting in the back, just covered her the head with a dupatta. That is not a helmet. Look at here, not wearing a helmet, wearing a cap, right? Using artificial intelligence-based techniques, automatically this can be detected in real time. These are a couple of examples. Here are a couple of examples, faking, Here is a couple of, the right-hand side, very interesting example. He's hand carrying the helmet, not wearing the helmet. He has a helmet, it is in the hand, not in his head. So that is a violation. Look at in the left-hand side, the police. Police himself is violating the, the norm, not wearing a helmet, right? Here we look at the right-hand side. A construction, cap has been put. That is not a true helmet, non-standard helmet. So what are the standard helmets? What are the non-standard? Those can be trained and classified. So there is the beauty of the technology, automatically detection. So this is some of the interesting example of the traffic violation through intelligence. So it has been deployed in Bhopal, in Madhya Pradesh. In Madhya Pradesh, a number of cities has been deployed, and automatically a challan is being generated. You can see electronic challan is coming, the license plate of the person, vehicle class is motorbike, at what time, what date, at what time it was detected, at what junction, everything is being generated to the challan, and what is the fine, what are the type of violation, helmet dharan nahi karna. Okay, then Sanket Ulaghan, somebody, jumping the red light. Lot of different types of violations can be automatically detected, so that we don't have to put police officers on the street to catch. Sometimes I have seen they catch innocent people to make money, right? Technology does not believe in corruption. Technology will detect only true violators. That is the beauty. Okay. Deployed in, this is an example, live example from Madhya Pradesh. So similarly, triple right. You can see in this scheme, in one, motorbike, inter-family is driving. I don't know how many people are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Including a baby. Okay, there are 5 people, 3 people, 4 people. This is a violation because this is the question of safety of human life. right? So in Madhya Pradesh, in Bhopal, after the deployment of this technology, you know, violation reduced by 90% because violators are getting the ticket automatically. It is not handmade tickets that people are sending. So that's the way we can use the technology in proper manner. Now let's give me a few other examples. Smart city surveillance, how it is driving the video IoT, and some AI-based example. Law enforcement, how they can use it. Okay. For example, you are walking down the street and something happened, and you go to police and you complain. Police will ask you the description of the person, and it's a nightmare situation, right? So here is an automatic tool. You give the eyewitness tool, and you can the approximate definition or approximate description of the person, and it will automatically throughout the city, you know, in real time, search all the video clips and show you the possible miscreants. So that is used in many cities for law and enforcement. Just watch the next video. So anyway, you got the idea. So essentially, so you can give the description, write this description, attire and etc. Different kind of tools are we have developed, and I'm happy to inform you. Just day before yesterday, entire thing has been proof of concept has been done in Singapore online, and in Singapore Ministry of Home Affairs they have done this, and this technology is running in Chennai also. How can I manage our cities, right? So how can we use it to keep our city clean and orderly fashion, and municipals and etc. can use it, right? So see a couple of examples. So essentially, what I've tried to show, give you a couple of few examples. It was done in Chennai, right? How technology aids, how cameras can be utilized. For example, if there is a place, garbage is overflowing, it automatically detects and sends a signal the concerned department. Garbage is overflowing, please clean it. And once it is cleaned, it is also sending the message, yes, it has been cleaned. That means, operational excellence of the service can be done. So, like this, many ways, our cities, our municipal corporation, can be managed. It is not only just safety; it is also running the city in a proper manner, so the city is clean and hygienic. So now, during the pandemic time, I thought, let me give a couple of examples how this video IoT can be utilized for the pandemic management. I'll give you a couple of examples, then I'll show you some video also. And this couple of examples from real life. So this video IoT, how it can be utilized for the pandemic management, and we got a lot of response from throughout the world. Okay, lot of queries are coming and being deployed and implemented for the safety of people during this pandemic time. We developed this algorithm and this inter suite called Sajak, keep us Sajak, keep us awake. For example, social distancing. These group of people, they are not maintaining the social distancing. Violation can be automatically detected. On the other hand, these green signs, they are maintaining social distancing. For example, in the kitchen area, this is running in one of the 5-star hotel in the country. I cannot disclose the name. It is a mandatory in the kitchen area. People should be wearing their hats, their masks, their gloves, so that hygiene is maintained. There is no fear of spreading the disease. But kitchen is the one of the main area where from the disease can spread. So you can see there are indications. People no gloves. That person did not wear any gloves. This person did not wear any glove. So this person did not wear the cap. So this is the way PPE detection and hygiene management can be done in the kitchen areas, in the hospitals, in many places. Social distancing can be measured. It is not subject to the interpretation of the person or subject to the interpretation of the rulers. So if the camera can be utilized where really social distancing is maintained, where it is being violated, where all these things automatically be detected, so that it can proper deployment can be done. So if the tool is properly utilized, it can help a lot, and it is being implemented in many places. Of course, not in West Bengal. See this video. So the command center, that was the Bhopal command center. From the Bhopal command control center, throughout the city, utilizing those, the cameras, they are doing the pandemic management. So they are doing great job. So many places has been deployed, and I think 1 hour we spent. Let me stop here. If there's any question, I'll be happy to answer.